Hello, America. Tonight, we have a studio audience, and we have a special show tonight and tomorrow. Tomorrow is college students that are frustrated, and you're going to love it. You're going to love tomorrow night's show. Tonight's show, I hope that it will inspire you to action. When you look at the headlines of the day, these are just the headlines of the day. Churches burn in Egypt with violence. Gas prices edge up again. NATO steps up bombing in Libya. Why are we targeting Gaddafi? Are we just assassinating people now? Is that, I mean, Pakistan, the rift widens. What a surprise that is. Greece hit by new downgrade. Reports of mortgage fraud reach record levels. Oh yeah, we fixed that, didn't we? Mississippi town maybe wiped off the map with a flood. Postal Service reports $2.2 billion loss. Fannie and Freddie, what is that? Fannie is up to $9 billion for the quarter. You look at all of this stuff, and you think, what the heck is going on? And what can I do about it? Today, the story was about the rapper who has a special affinity for cop killers, being invited to the White House on Poetry Day. For the love of Pete, what are we doing Poetry Day for? Common is his name. Now, Common, I don't know anything about this guy. He might be great, might be fantastic. I don't really care about his music. I don't care. I don't care. But there's more to this story. Here's a guy who's attended Reverend Wright's church since I think he was 8 years old. Came to Reverend Wright's defense in 2008 when they were saying, hey, is this a problem? The president is going to church with this guy? He said, quote, I've been going to that church since I was 8 years old. So what he's doing is giving people an understanding of a man's perspective that grew up in the era of racial prejudice and has since progressed. Really? That's progress? The only way we're going to progress is to not judge and not quickly become offended. Yeah. Okay. Well, here's the guy that performed last night at the White House, despite many objections to this form of art or poetry. Here's one of his songs that's in question. Listen.
In the spirit of God, in the spirit of the ancestors, in the spirit of the Black Panthers, in the spirit of Assata Shakur, we make this movement towards freedom for all those who have been oppressed, and all those in the struggle.
Okay, so we have we have the oppressed here. Again, we have the Black Panthers and Assata Shakur. Who is that? Who is that? Not a household name to most people, but a household name if you happen to be a radical leftist. And who isn't in Washington or Hollywood anymore? You also might know the name if you regularly check the FBI's most wanted list. There she is, Assata Shakur. She's adorable, but looks can be deceiving. 1973, wanted for committing several felonies, including bank robbery. When the New York State Police pulled the car over, her and her buddies were there, and her buddies are from the militant Black Liberation Army. Where have we heard that one in the news before? The BLA members started a shootout and killed the state trooper. Assata was sentenced to life in prison, but somehow or another escaped in 1979. She's now living in Cuba, where they have, Michael Moore tells us, the greatest health care of all time. She's writing books. She even co-authored one with cop killer Mumia Abu-Jamal. Gee, where have I heard that name before? Bill Ayers and Bernadine Dorn named one of their children Zayad after the BLA member who was killed in the Assata shootout. Rapper Common named his first child, middle name Assata. But Common wants you to know that his love for the police cannot, quoting, cannot be questioned. The one thing that shouldn't be questioned is my support for the police officers and the troops that protect us every day. Really? You're right, Common. You can't question it. I know exactly where you stand with the police. So he ends up being a guest at the White House. Again, freedom of speech. I think the guy's a dope for that song. I don't know the rest of his music. It all might be wonderful and rosy and whatever. But it's not about Common. It's not about some rap star. It's not about music. It's about the President of the United States setting a standard and a pattern. And the pattern is, remember the President said, when he talked about his friend in Cambridge, the arrest of his friend Harry Louis Gates Jr. Do you remember what he said about the police?
I think it's fair to say, number one, any of us would be pretty angry.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, that the Cambridge police acted stupidly.
Okay, so the Cambridge police acted stupidly. And remember, what he said before that is, I don't have any of the facts, but the police acted stupidly. Then he hires Van Jones, who supports cop killer Mumia Abu-Jamal. Now, I don't know if you remember, can you get a tight shot of this one? Maybe, Oscar, will we get that? Mumia Abu-Jamal is the guy who killed this man. Point blank range, just shot him in the head. So the president also surrounds himself with the people who accept the actions of the weather underground. He goes to Jeremiah Wright's church that views the police as oppressors. He has Richard Trumka, the head of the AFL-CIO, the most frequent visitor to the White House. AFL-CIO California, they are the teachers union, and they've now come out and endorsed Mumia Abu-Jamal, the guy who shot Danny Faulkner. The president's actions clearly indicate that he is anti-cop. Now, you can do a photo op all you want. He did it today. Look at me, I'm with the cops. Yeah. Got a problem with that, Mr. President. Because it's just like Bill Clinton when he said, Monica Lewinsky, that scandal doesn't matter. I don't even know what sex is. I could have been sharpening a pencil. I might have been having sex. What do I know? It did matter because oral sex became no big deal to kids. The president influences our culture. The president sets the table and the standard. And the standard when it comes to killing cops needs to be zero tolerance. Violence against the police, zero tolerance. And there's another thing that doesn't make any sense to me. The lyrics from the rapper Common says, I hold up a peace sign, but I carry a gun. He talks about guns all the time. Now, wait a minute. Hang on just a second. Isn't this administration anti-gun? Aren't we supposed to get rid of all the violent rhetoric? Why? Why on all of the people? What, Maya Angelou's not around? All of the people. You get this guy. Okay. See, I get worked up. I hear news like this today, and I get worked up. So you have a choice. You can get angry. You can protest. You can march. People do all those things. And then you vote for new people, and then nothing really changes. And the more things don't change, the more upset and helpless people feel. I mean, who are you going to call on this one? I mean, what happened to common values that we don't hold people up that are standing up for cop killers? So people either get angry, which is very dangerous, or they tune out. That's equally as dangerous. You have a third option. You can find a way to make it a positive. Now, I don't really know. I've been thinking about this one all day. I'm wearing the button of Danny Faulkner today in support of the cops, not those that kill them. But maybe you can do something for your kids, with your kids. Maybe you can reach out visibly with your kids seeing you to your local police. Maybe you could reach out to their unions and educate the unions on what's really going on with the left in this nation. Did you see last night's episode? Last night's episode with the lady who is a liberal Democrat who believes in social justice. We were like buddies last night because she sees it. She's like, it's been hijacked. Radicals are killing us from the inside. It's not what people who are half asleep think it is. Last night I got back home and I was standing in my living room. I have an apartment here, and I was looking out at the skyline of the city. And I was hit with the realization, as I usually am when I look at this city, of how many people are clueless, how many people have tuned out, how many people are just walking around in a fog as if everything is fine, we're fine, we're fine, we're fine. Are we really? Really? What's being done about these things? Geez, we have 37,000 people killed on our border, and our president is making fun of it. The debt ceiling. It wasn't too long ago that Timothy Geithner came out and warned that there would be, and I'm quoting, serious hardships and would spark, quote, a catastrophic economic consequence that would last for decades if we didn't raise the debt ceiling on time. Well, Tuesday and Wednesday, the Treasury Department auctioned $56 billion in new debt, pushing us through that ceiling. Monday, it officially happens, and nobody's saying anything. Why? Not a care in the world that we, according to Geithner, are about to suffer catastrophic consequences. Or are we? Because now he says we're fine. He said, we're good till August. I found some money. I don't know. I think I left it in my other suit. Excuse me? Where did we find this money? Is that the truth? Or are you lying? Were you lying now? Or were you lying then? Are you telling us the truth? I don't even know. Who do you trust? Who do you trust? I get a pit in my stomach when I think of the Americans that are, how few are actually engaged, who are actually using common sense and reason. How can you see the news every day and just shrug it off? Part of it is apathy. We've been bought off with materialism. We've been misdirected, but also our entire lives, we've just said it's America. That's not going to change. America, America's America. I was just in Israel, got back yesterday. I was there for Memorial Day, and then Independence Day. Monday was Memorial Day, and then the next day was Independence Day. That's the way you should do it. Reflect on the people that sacrificed their lives for your freedom. They don't just go out and see some fireworks and have a hot dog and call it a night. I was in right there, that's the Temple Mount, and I was over there by the Western Wall. And as I saw them douse the flame for the memorial and then start the celebration, and they were praying, and then they started singing songs, and they were excited, they were grateful. You could feel it was joy. It was joy that I felt. I thought about this, I thought, I've never felt joy, real, true joy like I saw there on Independence Day. And the difference is I don't know what it means to lose my country. I mean, I've been moved on Independence Day, but not sheer joy like I saw over there. It is weird to say this, but I was overwhelmed with a feeling yesterday that I feel safer in a way in Israel than I do here. Because there's an awareness there that is missing here. They are wide awake. That tends to happen when somebody's always trying to blow you up. Here we're in denial. If you're on a ship that's sinking, would you feel safer with the people who are on the deck, who sees what's happening, and they're saying, okay, come on, everybody, what can we grab? Or do you feel safer with people inside at the bar laughing and drinking, oblivious or in denial, as you see the ship and everybody's like, don't worry about it. Which do you feel safer? I'd rather be on the deck. I realize this show is widely considered in liberal circles, in liberal New York Times circles, a bummer or downer or depressing, whatever. My wife, this is true, this is how sad my life is. My wife says to me every time we go to a party, and we rarely go to a party because I am to parties what rat poison is to rats. But my wife always says, please don't make everybody cry. I know the truth can be miserable. The truth shall set you free, but it will make you miserable first. But it's what you do with the truth that matters. What you're learning, what you're seeing every day is depressing. So you're going to tune out? Or are you going to decide who you are? See, when you bottom out, when you realize the truth, then you've got a choice to make. Are you a survivor, or are you a sheep that just happily goes along to slaughter? I'm a survivor. I think you are too. That's why you're here every day. And the more you connect with others and start talking to those who are on the deck, looking over the edge, seeing the water, and somebody else is saying, come on, get back to work, you will start finding the answers of what's true. Those who refuse to accept what's happening will find comfort in numbers. They'll make fun of E4, enlightenment, education, empowerment, entrepreneurship. Enlightenment. Find out your relationship. Why are you here? Education. How did we get here? Empowerment. I make a difference. And entrepreneurship. Be creative and do something positive. Don't tear things down. Build it up. while you're doing this, others will be sipping brandy as the bow of the boat just sinks further and further into the deep blue sea. That doesn't work. You have to make a positive change and decide who you are. Tonight, I'm going to prove to you that the individual does matter. These stories, all of them, when you put them together, it's overwhelming. No matter how small or seemingly insignificant, you making a difference in your life does make a difference. It's the sum of E4 when it's put together that works. Education. Something as simple as preserving history. It's being rewritten right now. Who is saving it? I was on the phone this afternoon because I was in a meeting preparing for the show this morning, and one of our assistants brought in a stack of stuff. It was amazing. It was, you guys know who Carl Sandburg is? He wrote the Lincoln books. His good friend was one of the biggest collectors. He was like David Barton in the 1800s, and he collected everything, all these pictures and everything else. A viewer of this program has that collection of George Washington, all of the engravings and the pictures of George Washington from 1700s. He sent them to me today to preserve them. It was overwhelming. I called him up and we talked for a while, and he said, we've got to preserve our history. We have to do it. You have to see this. You'll find it at glennbeck.com. Before I came over, I shot a little video of this collection, this guy. I mean, it's amazing. You can educate others. It sounds simple, and it is. But if it's not done, we lose it. If you've been sitting on the sidelines, you've been getting a nudge to do something, but you held back because you feel like it's stupid or you don't really know what to do and it doesn't seem like it'll make a difference, I want to show you the people who felt just like you do now, but decided to get into the game. As an individual, it will seem small, maybe even silly, but as a group, you'll change the world. In fact, maybe you'll fundamentally transform it. When we come back, I'm going to show you the living proof. People who have changed their own lives, who I believe will change the world. The things that they're doing, and some of them risking to do it. Next. In this audience, we have moms who decided they were just fed up with indoctrination in their children's schools and decided to start a free patriot camp and remind kids of history, teach it for maybe the first time. We have an amazing retiree who has heard me talk about Spooky Dude, George Soros, and now translates some of our shows into Chinese and sends them overseas where they're being picked up by the media over in... Oh, he must hate her. And sorry, Spooky Dude. We also have a teenager who says he'd like to become the next George Washington. We have people here who have been inspired by E4, the 40-day, 40-night challenge, 828. And we have a guy, Brian Sandberg. He came in from California. He has a story about taking part in a flash mob of kindness that he heard about on this program. Brian, how are you?
I'm great.
Good. Tell me the story.
Well, I got to say that the flash mob of kindness was the most frustrating and the most rewarding day that I've ever had.
Usually are.
I heard about the flash mob on your radio program about a month prior and said, this is something that I have to do. And kind of planned for it for an entire month. I mean, it wasn't all that complicated. You had just asked to get some groceries and go give them to somebody that needed it.
Right.
And that was what I was going to do. I had a couple people in mind, and I decided that I was going to put your book, The Seven, as part of the gift. And
had you read it?
I had read it twice.
Wow.
And I went out to go buy a book, and there were absolutely no books available in any of the bookstores.
California.
So, I mean, it was kind of a no-brainer. I said, well, it's going to mean even more. I'm going to give them my book, dog ears and highlighted and everything, to the person. But it posed a problem. Now I was giving something that really meant something to me. to a person that I didn't know. So instead of just going out and giving it to the first person that I thought about, I actually had to do a little research into the people I was doing. And I had 2 people in mind that didn't work out. The first person, I looked at for like about 5 minutes, and somebody came up, and then they just started counting out cash. They had been panhandling all day, and they're counting out $20 bills in front of the store. And the second person was 2 people that generally ask for money on the medians. And I grabbed my groceries and went out right in the middle of the median and said, "Here, I'd really like you to have this." And she turned to me and said, "Do you have any money?" And I go, "Well, no, I don't have any money. I just wanted to see if this could help you out." And she goes, "Well, we don't want your food. You know, if you're disturbing the people that are coming by. Can you?"
You're disturbing the people coming by.
And I was frustrated. I went back to my car. I loaded everything into my car, and I went home. I gave up. I absolutely gave up. And I was at home, and just it's like this was supposed to be easy. Then I thought to myself, maybe this isn't supposed to be easy, and I thought, and I remembered every day I drive to work, I see this guy coming from behind this bank, Wells Fargo, and he's always got his camping gear on. It's like he's going hiking, and it occurred to me, maybe this guy is sleeping behind the Wells Fargo. I didn't know. Young guy, 30-something, and I said, it was 10 o'clock at night. I had given up for the day. It's 10 o'clock at night, and I said, I'm going to jump in my truck. And I went in, and sure enough, there he was, like sleeping in the corner in the snook of the Wells Fargo. And I went out there and just sort of laid the bags down by his head, and I didn't want to wake him up, so I wrote a little note in the book. And
what'd you write?
Basically, the events in people's lives change from day to day, and this isn't much, but hopefully it'll help a little bit, and hopefully this will kind of jumpstart you into a better direction. And I just signed it, Someone Who Cares, and left. And went home. And when I went to work the next morning, I was getting ready to go to work, and I didn't see him on the corner. I mean, he's there like clockwork at 6:45. And I said, well, I'm going to go check the parking lot. So I drove by the parking lot because he was visible from where I was going to drive by. And there he was sitting. He was having a little peanut butter and jelly sandwich from the bags that I put, and he was sitting up against the wall, and he was reading your book. So it was pretty emotional.
How did it change you?
You know, it didn't just change me. I realized later that you're probably one of the sneakiest people around.
Little old me?
You know, because the feeling that I got from that experience was something that I knew I was going to have to repeat. So,
heroin.
Yeah, exactly. And I knew that 421 was going to turn into 521, and then that was going to turn into 2 weeks later, and maybe 1 week later after that, and I was like, Glenn's just created this little army of people that's now going to go out there and help people without subtly telling anybody to do it. I'm sure that that's what happened.
I will tell you, and we haven't even had a chance to tell this story on the air yet. There was a girl that is in high school, and she did the same thing, and she got addicted to it, and her friend that she grew up with had fallen on the wayside, and when they got into high school, I think she's a junior in high school, when they got into high school, they fell apart and they weren't friends anymore because her friend went with all the bad kids and fell into drugs and everything else. And she's been reaching out and reaching out and reaching out. And one day, after this random act of kindness day, she told her friend, you wouldn't believe how good it felt. You wouldn't believe what happened to me. Her friend was charged by that, and they had the first real conversation they'd had in 3 years. They're now back to being best friends. Her friend has moved away from the other friends cleaned herself up, put herself back on. This is why I say it makes a difference. If you change, you'll start to affect other people. And the only way, I'm not going to change this through politics. I'm not going to change this through politics. The only way we're going to change this is one person at a time and being visible in your neighborhood. And people go, you know what? I like Brian. He's a good guy. And he does good things for people. And you being able to be a source of honor and trust in your neighborhood will make a huge, huge difference. I am convinced that in the end, if enough people do the things we talk about and connect with each other, I am convinced we will be remembered as the people that saved the Republic. I'm convinced of it. Back in just a second. We have a few people I want to introduce you to. These are people that have taken the things of this show and said, you know what, I can pick. I really firmly believe that everybody has a piece of the puzzle. It's not me. This is my job. I'm supposed to do what I've done. Now, what are you going to do with it? This is not a show. I said the other day that there are no couch potatoes in this audience, nor there shouldn't be. This is a verb. Okay, you watch this show, that's not enough. You do something with it. Now, Lee has taken you. I don't know why did you pick George Soros, Lee?
Well, you were on to George Soros day after day after day. I thought it's very important.
Okay.
And that the world knows about him, so he can't do his evil deed to everybody.
Okay. Now, you came here from Taiwan?
Correct.
Okay. And so, what have you done?
I have translated your Spooky Dude material and Goldman Sachs material.
Yeah.
And I've sent it to as many Asian media as possible. Mm-hmm. And then they actually have picked up, and there's 3 programs they talked about what you talk about. Basically, they went from Spooky Dude is such a nice man, so wise, economist and all that, right. Went from, oh my God, this guy is, he'll say anything, he's like evil devil. The spooky dude. Yeah. And so that's what the Hong Kong show talked about. And then the 2 Taiwan show, one of the Taiwan shows says basically, he's here, he's going to do in our currency, and he's doing this in Malaysia, he's doing it in Thailand, watch out.
So, because we found out about you, and then we saw some of the things, and it appears as though they are taking the material that you have translated and are repurposing it over in in Asia. Why? What does this give you? What is this? Why? How does this make you feel?
Well, I think Spooky Dude has created this dark, evil world that he scares everybody into doing what he wants us to do. Well, we need to shine a light. We're going to be the only light that prevent that from happening. You always said to shine a sunlight on darkness and prevent evil. Well, so that's what I'm doing.
I tell you what, did anybody see part 1 of Fox? Fox now has picked up Spooky Dude, although they're not calling him Spooky Dude now. Why don't we hear about Soros's ties to over 30 news organizations? Anybody see this? Fox has, unbeknownst to me, done now an investigation for over several months, and this is part 1 of an investigation that they're doing, and it's on George Soros. And this shows that he has, where he's giving his money in the media, ABC, CBS, all of them, he is, it shows why basically they're talking about the Koch brothers now. He's financing all of it. And let me give you this. Make sure you translate that.
Okay.
And send it over. But it is people having the facts. You know, I've said on the program, please don't take my word for it, because you have to know what you know. You have to be able, how many of us have been in an argument, at least in the past, where you would say, you'd come up to somebody and you'd say, well, no, that's not right. And then they'd have a fact, and and then you'd say, well, okay, well, I just don't think so. That doesn't work. I have noticed now that nobody really is willing to argue with me, because, really, go ahead. What do you have? What do you have for me? Go ahead. Hit me with your best shot. And I can argue my point, because I know it in here. I didn't get it from anybody else. I did it. And once you have that, they lose. That is the self-empowerment. That's E3. That's where the power comes from. They keep telling you, well, people don't understand it. They don't understand. Let me tell you something. I was up at 2 o'clock in the morning reading about the money supply like 5 years ago. And I remember looking up to my ceiling saying, what am I ever going to use this for? Reading the M1, M2, M3 money supply. What is that all about? But bring it on, Tim Geithner. Bring it on. Because I now know what the truth is. And when the citizenry informs themselves like that, lights out for anybody who's trying to grab your power. Back in a second. We're back with the studio audience tonight, and what we're talking about is we started with over here these chalkboards on all of the things that are wrong with the world, and how do you solve them? You can get frustrated, and you can see all the things that are happening, and you get angry or whatever, or you can realize that change starts at the individual level. Eric is a guy who, gosh, Eric, was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, it's been I guess it was 2 Christmases ago.
2 Christmases ago. So, you were influenced by a book that I wrote, The Christmas Sweater. Mm-hmm. Tell me about your life. What happened?
I am a recovering heroin addict. And I guess it's been about 7.5 years I've been in recovery, and only by the grace of God. My faith is the center of that. And but reading your book, you know, talking about the storm, it just hit home with me. The idea of having a Russell, you know, I had a lot of Russells in my life, and for those that are not familiar with the book or haven't read it, there's a character in there who is named Russell, who is, I don't know how you would describe him to someone who hasn't read it, but it's that hand that reaches in and helps you out when you need it the most. And of course, I had family there. I had my faith in Christ. That's where most of it came from in the end. But I realized after I got through that storm, I can't sit here and just bask in my recovery. I need to do something to help others. You know, I can't keep this if I don't give it away. You know, my storm was different than some storms. Some people have things like cancer or sickness, and I kind of created my own storm. You know, I chose to walk into the storm like a tornado chaser does, and but I was able to get to the other side, and now I'm working in recovery, working with other men, and trying to be their Russell, if you will.
You know what's amazing is most people won't understand this. Maybe you will. You know what my storm has been for the last 5 to 7 years? Can anybody guess what my storm has been? Can you guess?
Can't do enough.
Success.
Success, yeah.
Success is just as much of a storm as anything else, because you can lose yourself to it. And so a lot of people don't recognize. I think we're all tested on whatever our weakness is. Mine in the past has been money and greed, really. And you can't conquer greed if you're not given the opportunity.
Right.
And so we have to be very careful on what our storm is. It's easy to say, oh, a heroin addict. Well, gee, of course. But success, you know, so many Americans won't face and figure out who they are until you're at your position or the position that I was in.
Right.
You know what I mean? You have to really center yourself. Now's the time to do it, because maybe your storm is just, well, what we started the show with. You get angry or you feel helpless. Maybe your storm is, I can't make a difference.
Right.
That's a storm that you have to conquer. Because once you get to the other side, right?
Oh yeah, once you get to the other side, you realize, you know, it's okay. You have to look inward to not make those same mistakes again.
Yeah.
You're going to make mistakes. We're not perfect, but...
Would you agree with me? Life is hard, but every second is worth it.
Yes,
It's amazing.
absolutely.
Amazing. Back in a minute. All right. There was a time on this program that we talked about Organizing for America and the Organizing for America internship programs that were being advertised in school. And 3 moms. Where are my 3 moms? 3 moms. Deb, Heather, and Michelle decided to do something about it. And you guys are from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, right?
Yes.
What happened? What'd you do?
Well, we had seen your Founders Friday shows, and we learned a lot, but we were also inspired to do some reading on our own. And then one day we heard you talk on your radio about Obama organizations doing summer camps, and we thought, no, we need to do our own. And so we got together. We couldn't find any program anywhere. We even called Wall Builders. They didn't have anything. So we developed our own, and we ran a week-long camp for elementary school kids to teach them about the founding of our country in a really fun way. It was a great success, so thank you for that.
And we highlighted it on the show one time, right? You and
No.
No, actually, that
No,
wasn't
there
us.
was a Kentucky. No, there was a Kentucky
Yeah.
or Ohio group, and I thought maybe I've just
On the
had
radio
conversations
show you
on the
did.
radio show.
Right, radio,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. And now you're actually working with a 912 group nationally, right?
Right.
And what's going to happen there, Heather?
Well, we have been fortunate enough to be put in contact with Yvonne Donnelly, who has been a friend and helped us get this on the road, and our program will be marketed nationwide. So we're going from one camp last summer that we put together actually in 6 weeks to possibly having it go nationwide
I
this
think
summer, hopefully.
Where is
Through
Yvonne? Yvonne. This is the program that because you told me about this. This is Yvonne Donnelly. She's the head of the 912 project. And she's happy to be introduced. And this is the one you told me about, and I started the fundraiser, right?
You did.
And so we wrote, Tanya and I, my wife, we wrote a check to help fund this so it could go nationwide. And is it still paid for? Can you do more? You need more donations.
Well, we're always going to be, we always
Yeah.
need more donations. But this is called Patriot Camp. The organization is called Constitutional Champions, and it's going gangbusters.
And
We
what
start
it-
shipping next week.
And so it's Constitutional Champions, and it's for people to do with children or work as a group, or can you do it in your family?
Both, actually. Depending on how many children you want to do it. And I've gotten inquiries from parents at home, and then schools. I've gotten inquiries from schools as far away as Hawaii and
Shut
Alaska.
Schools?
Yep. Schools want it.
They know there's no Marxism in it? Right, okay.
So, yeah.
So it's, and you can get the information at 912project.com?
Yep, and constitutionalchampions.org.
Wow, good for
Yeah.
you. Matthew, real quick, I'm going to end with you. You were a guy who said you wanted to be just like George Washington.
Yep.
And you are now an entrepreneur. What happened in your life?
You know, I watch a show every day, and I watch and I see what you have to say. And
Hang on, I'm being told we have 5 seconds.
Okay.
Stand by.
All
Stand
right.
by. Back in a second. Matthew. You were saying.
I was saying that I started my own business, Schaefer Computer Consulting Firm. I'm online, and you know.
He's turned it into a commercial. It was supposed to be something warm and fuzzy from New York. Good night, America.